I wanted to give our listeners a little background about what it is you do. You're a writer-director,
Right.
so you produce on-stage films, I'm sorry, on-stage productions, and also films. So
Right.
can you give us a little scope about how you got started in writing?
Sure. When I was a freshman here at University of Michigan, and I remember I was taking a CSP class
Yeah.
that Royster Harper, then Eunice Royster at that time,
Oh.
was teaching the class with Niara Siddharkasa. And she back in the day, she's like gone on to be president of Lincoln and all that.
Oh,
So,
okay, wow.
yeah, like
Okay,
it was like a
yeah.
big deal back then. And it was a mastering the college experience. And I remember Royster said, you know, if you could do anything that you wanted to do and there were no limitations about what you could do, what would you do? And she had everybody write it on a piece of paper and she collected them. And when she looked at all of them, she said, anything you want to do is possible. Nothing that you wrote on these papers was impossible. And I knew at the time that I wanted to be a writer-director, you know, that I wanted to direct movies. And I had run into Spike Lee in Atlanta, and he was like, if you're going to go to film school, you should go to NYU. It's the best place to go. And so I kind of mapped out my whole college experience to kind of build up to going to NYU to get my, you know, start, to get my MFA. And I spent a lot of time here at U of M directing stage shows, kind of like Poor Man's Movie, you know, writing and directing stuff and just get my chops together for my portfolio. And so that's kind of how I started.
Okay, so what's that growth been like ever since? You went from U of M Film to NYU Graduate School. What was that transition like, and what's kind of a development that occurred within
I mean, I
Drive?
guess even like, I mean, it's like, you know, you're in a whole different city, you're in a whole new school. Like, I
Right.
mean, even explain, I don't know, the differences in the schools. Like, is one more, I don't want to say practical, but versus conceptual? Like,
Well,
what,
it's a different. The transition was fun and difficult, but easy at the same time. Because I knew it was what I wanted to do. Completely different environments. Actually, and it's similar and different in certain kinds of ways. Because Ann Arbor and what you learn at U of M, because it's so big and there's so many resources, it becomes your own little private universe to make stuff happen.
that's true.
You guys have a radio show, or you can produce
That's
a
right.
play, or you can create an organization, or you can create a whole movement, you know. And so it becomes this little universe that you can kind of create. And so if you can make something happen here at U of M, those are actually transferable skills. And New York is very much that kind of place too, where there's so many things that are open to you. It's not like a one industry town like LA. You've got
That's
fashion,
true.
you've got music, you've got broadcasting, you've got all these things that are there. And if you can kind of make that happen here, you can kind of transfer those skills to New York and make it work. School-wise, it's very, very different because the Michigan program is really in a schizophrenic mindset about what it wants to be. It wants to have this kind of production slant to it, but it really doesn't want to lose its panache of being academic focused. And so they kind of push and pull against each
Okay.
other. Whereas NYU is straight up just production, about
Right.
making movies.
So I guess going off of that, I wanted to talk about how you get into HIV education. Some of your works are centered around that. How do you go from being somebody who just produces creative works to being an educator, I guess, of sorts? How does that transition work, and how has that been for you?
It's hand in hand for me. Like the work that I've always generated has always had some kind of social relevance to it. I'm not good at just fluffy stuff. I think there are elements that have to go into a piece that there are things that go into a creative piece of work or a creative project that make me drawn to it, and a certain kind of social relevance or political relevance or something that matters above and beyond, you know, the everyday.
entertainment.
Yeah.
So how's working with Spike shaped you in that respect? Has it been revealing at all? Or?
Well, yeah, but you know, it was interesting. I was living in Harlem and working in Brooklyn, and I'm like, wow, like Spike he's making films out of Brooklyn. I mean, you know, it was interesting being there working on, like, I was there from the period of from Four Little Girls up till pre-production on She Hate Me. So I was there like for Summer Sam and He Got Game, and so it's interesting. You know, you're answering the door and it's Phil Hoffman or it's Jada Pinkett or it's, you know, Denzel Washington ringing the buzzer, and you're like, who is it? You know, and you let them out. So it made it a very grounded, rooted kind of thing. And no matter who you were upstairs in the sweatbox reading the script. It didn't matter if you were Denzel Washington or everybody was up there, you know, And so it made it much more accessible, and it really actually probably what it did was it spoiled me, because you get used to seeing somebody have that much power and control over what it is that they do, and people don't have that. He, from the rooter to the tutor, he has a lot of control, which is kind of why he's not being able to get bigger, 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 because he has final cut. He gets to choose the poster. He gets to make all kinds of decisions that they're like, we're not going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars to do. We'll give you 20. We'll give you 30.
Right.
Right. So to what extent do you feel that having too much control, I guess, kind of limits the artist, and other than the financial behind it? Do you think that having another perspective could maybe, not necessarily Spike alone, but just the artist in general?
Every artist has to choose what their battle is. You know, Prince had the biggest recording contract in history at the time that he walked away from Warner Brothers. They said, we'll give you anything. We'll make you a VP. We'll give you $5 million advances on all your albums. Just do right and make hits.
Right.
And he was like, no, I don't own my publishing.
Right.
This is really just slavery. You know, Londale, get me out of this.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Like,
It's real. Got you.
sorry, go ahead.
Unspeakable is a play written by myself and Gailes OBC and James Murray Jackson Jr., inspired by the life of Richard Pryor. And we had a run in New York, and we were reviewed by the Times, got a good review, and now we're producing it for Broadway.
Excellent.
Loretta Devine is attached to play his grandmother. We did a reading in the summer, and so now we're just on the cusp of trying to finalize financing, and secure theater so that we can move in aggressively to getting it on Broadway.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
Between the ages of 18 and 22, and maybe up to 25, whatever you want to do, if it's positive, everybody around you will conspire to help you get it. If I had really go whatever, that's the time where you can take all the calculated risks that are going to set you up for the rest of your life. People will help you do whatever. If you said you wanted to be an astrophysicist or an astronaut or president, if you enlist aid between 18 and 25, people will help you. So just go aggressively toward whatever your passion is.